For this tutorial, I'm going to give you an overview of the basic lights available in Clara IO. If you have your General tab selected, the lights are available on your right-hand side. We have an area light, a directional light, a hemisphere light, a point light, and a spotlight. If you don't see your lights over here, they are available in some of the other tabs, as well as underneath Create Light. You have both your standard lights and your V-Ray lights. I'm just going to talk about the standard lights. So when you have your scene created in Clara, and in most 3D modeling programs, you're given a basic ambient light source. So we can sort of see in the scene that I've set up for us, there is some sort of light. It's the direction is not very specific, just coming from the camera, and there's not really any shadows being cast. The first light that I like to show is actually the point light. So the point light acts almost like a light bulb. The cast of this light is not very far. It has a fall off point, and it's generally used to light up a small aspect of a scene. So this is not a light that you would want to use to light the entire scene or the entire environment you're working on. It's more so to softly highlight a specific area. All of our lights have the option to change the intensity, so how strong is that light? And then depending on your light source, you may also have the option to play with the fall off. How much does the light quickly change from bright to not touching the objects at all? And I'm also just going to change the color of this light as well, so that way we can see the color source of the different lights and how they're affecting our scene. So this is the point light. The next light that I'm going to show you is the spotlight. So all of our lights, just like the regular objects, will be created at the 0, 0 axis point. And the spotlight is a much stronger and a much harsher light overall. So wherever this light starts is where the light begins to emit, and then you'll see this cone here reflects how wide does that light sort of broadcast away from the initial point. I'm just going to rotate this down on my scene for right now. So you notice that as we begin to add these lights to the scene, that initial light source, the default light source, fades away, and it really is up to us to begin to paint our scene with light. So the spotlight tends to cast a much stronger shadow. We see a shadow on this plane that I've created. You can adjust the radius of your spotlight. You can also adjust the intensity. So for right now, I'm going to leave that at 1. I'm going to change my color to a blue so we can see the difference between the blue spotlight and the pink point light. Here we have the cone angle, so how wide does that light reach out? With a spotlight, since it's a little bit more specific, like you're basically trying to shine on a specific area, you don't want to let the cone angle go too wide, or else you may want to look at something like a directional light. Here we have the ability to change how harshly or when that light stops affecting the scene through the fall off. So the default is 0, but as you raise that number up, you'll notice that you have a much softer edge around where the light stops. And then finally, decay can work similar as well. So I'm going to leave that like that for right now. The next light I want to show you is the directional light. So the directional light is only shining from one source. Since we have the spotlight here shining this way, I'm actually going to go ahead and rotate my directional light. And as you see me rotating this light, I'm going to rotate it in the opposite orientation of the spotlight actually, you'll sort of see the effect. So the directional light applies to the entire scene. We're not limiting that range. So even though this light is over here, it is sort of lighting this back as well as this front area. If I move my light back, you'll notice that the intensity between these objects is not changing at all. So this is staying the same brightness. This is staying the same brightness as well. So if you just wanted a light from one direction, this is the light to use, and it also has an intensity. And for this one, I'm going to maybe give it a yellow-orange cast. So that's our directional light. And finally, our area light, somewhat similar to directional. The area light shines off of this specific source, and I'll put this behind the spotlight so you can see it. If I rotate this light, you'll notice that we have like a softer light source. You can think of an area light like working with a soft box in photography. So it's going to give a softly lit scene. You can change the intensity. I'll change the color too. So we haven't used green just yet. So here is our green. And then you can see if you adjust the width and the height, this will determine how much of that light is falling off. So this has a specific range, whereas the directional light is an overall effect. The last light that is available for us to use is this hemisphere light. And the hemisphere light is basically acting like more of a global light source, like a soft dome, or if you think of the light from the sky, this is what that hemisphere light is mimicking. So if you wanted to just give an all-natural sort of light source and give your scene maybe like a cloudy day type of light source, this is what you would use.